Good day, viewers, and welcome to another Onside SA Soccer Show. Paul is away at the cells in Johannesburg, so joining us in the studio is his regular super sub and Manning Rangers League winner, Gavin Radford. Gav?
Hey, bud. Good morning to everyone. Another season starting, or started. Some good results, some bad results, lot to talk about.
Yeah, you're right about that. And obviously our UK correspondent Stevie Brown will be in his Fulham studio. But we start off with our post-net last one standing competition, which did start on Friday last week. And we had 762 entries at the end. Of those, the guys that went through were on Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Man United, Brentford, Man City, Aston Villa and Brighton. The unfortunate guys who went out were Tottenham Hotspur, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Leicester, Southampton and West Ham. 51 ladies entered. Ladies, thanks again. And you are Kerry Varga, Yvonne Barenser, Melissa Barenser, Sam Cooper-Bull, Corin McManus, Mia Rotason, Kelly Potts, Jeanette Biscobi, Julie Aboud, Cindy Radell, Jocelyn and Kerry Everett, Sue and Blair Miller, Chanel Mudley, Stacey Nagel, Lalita Baldani, Jerica Jawiha, hope I've got that right, Therese Bonza, Lauren Shadwell, Harriet Sneyman, Sasha Dupree, Carla Quintus, Raquel Quintus, Dora Roussos, Milan Lavo, apologies, Ancilla Jackson, Tracy Anderson, Tracy Null, Georgia Harito, Linda Naka, Kim West, Philly and Glovo, Pauline Young, Catherine Armstrong, Montana and Tennille Werners, Julie Usher, Fiona Trassman, Emma Trassman, Nicola Grove, Abby Lloyd, Hardy Lamson, Linda Potts, Jackie Cullen, Rita Weston, Janice Lafferty, Holly Lafferty, and Amy Herbert Lafferty, and Laura Dalcho, and last but not least, Ashley Berger. Lady, thanks again. On to our pick of the competition in round one, and I always go for the sides at the biggest odds. There were two sides that did heated. 5 of the guys were on Aston Villa, namely Sebastian Teixeira, Gavin Null, Mark Anderson, David Thompson and Sonny Buldatoy. 3 others were on Brighton. They are Yvonne Barenser, Mark Oliver and Sonny Buldatoy. Always guys that are worth a mention, and these are the guys that, while having numerous picks, had several teams that went through. Those being Walter Luthi, Greg van Rooyen, Chris Harito, John Finlayson, Larry Weinstein and Steve Potter. Guys, the first game is at 1:30, which is between Brighton and Man United. Please can you have your tips no later than 12:30. Several of you, after I'd let the teams go out, WhatsApp me, phone me afterwards. So first round I gave you a chance, but please guys, 12:30 is closing time. We now go over to our UK correspondent. Stevie, you cruised through on the weekend.
Yes, well my team didn't, but I did.
Yeah. Steve, a couple of topics. The first one is the points deduction, and hopefully Man City's case will come up shortly, but Leicester apparently have 2-point charges.
That's right. One sort of stems from their time in the Premier League before they went down, but also for some reason it looks like they could well be charged for their breaching when they were in the Championship. But either way, my understanding is that they have said that they intend to appeal, which could backfire because Forest and Everton both cooperated, and they had their points deduction was reduced as a result of that. So if Leicester don't cooperate and become sort of like a hostile witness, as it were, then and it does seem fairly certain, bearing in mind that there is a precedent now with what they've done with Everton and Nottingham Forest, that Leicester will get a points deduction.
Yeah, what do you think, 6?
Well, I think if both are found, if both breaches are found, then I think it could be 6 plus 2 possibly. So I think they could be looking at something more like 8.
Woof, geez, okay. Well, just as well they got the points on Monday night. And the other one that I find strange. I know the league can do nothing, but to me it's about time. I was having a look at Chelsea's future contracts. Now I know they've got Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez on 9-year contracts. I know they're trying to delay it as long as possible for financial fair play, but they've got future contracts of 191 years. The second on that is strangely Spurs, who are 97. You know, Man United are 5th on 82, and I know you've highlighted to me that Fulham is the lowest. But Steve, surely there's got to be a way around that. That's not right.
Well, it does seem great. Well, first of all, they did change the rules last year that they can't amortise those transfer fees over any more than 5 years.
Yeah.
So although they might give somebody a 7 or 8 or 9 year contract, they can only write those costs over 5 years. Which, you know, still on the basis that if you look at what Chelsea have been doing, every year they're selling players. So they're bringing all these players who they sign young through the academy, and then they're selling them, and they're effectively pure profit. So what it does with the sort of the way that financial fair play rules work, they can sort of use that and multiply whatever they get in to buy more. And in fact, they've done it again this year. They brought in a whole load more players, but they're going to be selling as well. So they're sort of flouting the rules, but and it does look crazy because they've now got a squad of well over 40 players. And they can only name 25 for either Europe or 25 for the Premier League.
Gav, how'd you like an 8-year contract?
I love an 8-year contract. But at the salaries that they get, jeez, I don't know how they do it. Just for me, how do you go and buy a new player when you've got a squad of 40 players already? So who do you get rid of? Who keeps? The change room can only hold about 25 players, and you've got all the staff inside there. There must be chaos in the change room. I mean, the manager to pick a team, I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah.
So it's sometimes I think it's just looking to buy players, hoping that the players can develop.
Now, what amazes me, Steve, how they haven't included the wages. I just look at Man United, Jadon Sancho, $300,000 a week. Now, you want to get rid of him, you've basically got to give him away. You know, there's like 16.5 million around there a year on his salary. Who's going to pay that? So he's just sitting there cruising.
I mean, very few will pay it, and that is the sticking point. So, you know, what would happen is if United were desperate to get him off their books, they might actually have to pay him off. Now, interesting, I was reading yesterday about Chelsea. What they're doing now is they're giving contracts, but they're giving a much lower base salary, but they're making it up with like huge bonuses and incentives, so that if a player did want to leave, then or they wanted them to go and they did want to leave, they're not actually on 300,000 a week. Their base may only be 100. So they're sort of getting around it like that. But again, you know, they've just signed, or on the basis they're just about to sign João Felix, you know, who they had on loan the season before last and really didn't do much at all. And now they're prepared to pay 40-odd million, which actually seems a little bit of a coincidence because that gives Atletico money that they can now buy Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
So
just to swap the player, but I'm sure
it is pretty much a swap. But in the books, if Conor Gallagher is 35 million, whereas João Felix they can write off over 5 years.
Yeah, no, it does make sense.
I think the Americans have mastered the art of paying players' salaries.
Yeah.
As in America, their players are on huge contracts as well. So I think they've brought some type of contract into the English game. I think it has to be stopped.
Yeah, a guy gets injured, 8-year contract, beautiful. Anyway, on to the talk of Man United, and let's get the betting up. First game Saturday. Brighton, Man United. Gav, I'll give you the shot. How are the boys going?
This is a tough game. You know, I've watched the Fulham United game in the opening game, and you know we still lacked the midfield to close it down. I mean, Fulham were unlucky towards the end of the game not to score and to win the game. Brighton, their game, they were always in control. I mean, Everton at home, you should be firing on your first game. So this is a tough game for United. I'm leaning towards Brighton to win this game, home ground advantage.
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that this is could be a bit of a banana skin for United. You know, it's not a happy hunting ground for them, and I've just got a feeling that you know, on the day, I think Brighton could expose that midfield as Fulham did, but didn't take advantage. Yeah. I think Brighton, with some of their pace up front, I think they could exploit them, and it's. You know, if there was to be a winner, I'm sort of edging towards Brighton.
Yeah, I've got to agree. You just never know with United. You know, I just hope he plays Garnacho. Ahmed will roast their left back, but I just don't see United scoring many goals. If you're playing Mason Mount, and Bruno's your strike force, how are you going to score many goals? And Rashford on the one side, Ahmed on the other. If we don't score from a set piece, we're struggling. I agree. You know, if I was having a bet, which I'm not, but I like the look of the 27-10, the draw. I think it's got a nice title. If you are having a bet, back to half-time draw, I think it was like 12-10.
Yeah,
I think
both teams to score is the way to go this year, but I think all the teams are scoring goals.
5.5 to 10, unfortunately. Second game, Crystal Palace, West Ham. Steve, how do you see it?
Yeah, I think it should be a close game. I mean, West Ham with all their new signings didn't play them all, and obviously it might take a little while for them to gel. And in the end, I thought Villa were good value for their win. Palace, I thought, were a bit unlucky to lose at Brentford.
Yeah.
But it does look like they're selling Joachim Anderson. I don't know. I think this could be a close game. I could see them sort of cancel each other out. I can't see a clear winner from either side.
Gav?
I thought both teams were poor in opening game of the week. I'm leaning towards a draw in this game. Both teams battling to score goals. Both have issues. Both trying to field new players. The draw for me looks like the right bet.
Yeah, I was fairly impressed. Palace played Brentford. I don't know how good Brentford were. That free kick should have been allowed. Why the referee blew early, I don't know. But West Ham, I was impressed with them, Steve. I thought Aston Villa on a bad side. And if Souček had scored from the header, how he missed from 2 yards out, I don't know. They're a work in progress, and I fancy them of the two teams. Just think where Crystal Palace had a few boys involved with England, and Guy, he looks like he's looking for a move. So of the two teams, I fancy West Ham all day. I took 18-10, West Ham to score over 1.5 goals. That's my play in this particular game. Steve, Fulham versus Leicester. I think you're good things. What do you think?
Well, look, at half-time of the Tottenham game, I was sitting there thinking, wow, if Leicester play like that, we should get a hatful. And then they scored and woke up and looked a different side. They will have one or two new players in the team. Looks like Oliver Skipp has signed and is probably going to play. I would be disappointed if we don't get a result. I think it will be close. But last time we played them at Fulham, just before they went down, we hit them for 5.
Yeah.
I fancy us to win, but it might only be by a goal.
Gav?
Yeah, I make Fulham best bet of the weekend, Budge. I thought they were really impressive first time out. I know they lost to United, but their play was excellent.
Yeah.
Everybody knows their position. Manager is passionate about the team. I think Fulham really a good bet this weekend. Yeah,
8-10 fancy. But my bet is both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. I think this has got 2-1, 3-1 written all over it. Shade under 12-10. Steve, how many will Man City put past Ipswich?
I think they will put a few past them. I thought Ipswich played very well in the first half against Liverpool, but in the second half, the floodgates really could have opened. Yeah. And I think that despite the fact that they're bringing in a couple of new players this week, I think that they'll be pleased to get this one out of the way, and Haaland is probably going to be adding to his goal tally.
Yeah, Gav?
Yeah, I thought Ipswich did well to get to half-time at 0-0. They were containing Liverpool. They weren't really under the pump that much. They contained them nicely. But you always felt that once Liverpool got one goal, the gates were going to open. Yeah. Man City, 3-4, I think it could be a bit of a hardy and a wake-up for the Premiership.
Yeah, there's a couple of bets for me. Man City to win both halves is just under 8-10. I thought that was a gift. I don't see Ipswich scoring. Over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no is 14-10. But I think there's going to be goals aplenty. I took 18-10, over 1.5 goals in each half. I thought 18-10 was worth an interest. But Man City do look absolute sitters. Steve, Southampton, I watched a lot of that game. Obviously following the competition, the guy got sent off. They didn't play too badly, and this will be a tough game for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I think so. Southampton did play well, and in fact, they were on top even before sort of Shaw got sent off. But again, they missed a couple of good chances, and I don't think they quite got that cutting edge. Forest, probably maybe a little bit unlucky not to have got a result in the end. Obviously, Bournemouth caught them cold. I think this could be a close game. Don't think there'll be many goals. I can see both teams scoring, and again, this could be a low-score draw.
Yeah,
both teams to score is my play, but I think value bet of the weekend's got to be Forest. They're always scoring goals. Yeah. They concede, but they always score, so they get their noses in front. I think the Southampton could be on a bit of a chase game. I'm leaning towards Forest to win this one, sneak it.
Yeah, I think this has got 1-1 written all over. It was about 7-8-1 when I last looked, but 5-2 the draw would definitely be my suggestion. In a game that, while I like Forest, don't be surprised if Southampton do win. On to the second page, and it's a pity I haven't got Paul here, because Love to ask him what he thought about Tottenham. But Steve, what did you think?
Well, look, I mean, they created so many chances, but they just were nowhere near clinical enough.
Yeah.
Solanke tried hard, maybe too hard, trying to sort of desperate to sort of get on the score sheet. But for all their forward play and touches in the box, they just. They missed so many, and in the end they were made to pay and drop points. I think that Ange is going to probably give them a real telling off after that, and I wouldn't be at all surprised they'll come back and they'll get the result at home against Everton. I'm disappointed with Everton. Once Brighton scored, they were never in it.
Yeah, I think Spurs are one of those teams, Budge, where you put your money down and you hope for the best. They just surprise me all the time. They dominate games and just don't get results. And I keep telling everybody out there that they can't win the league. Spurs, they've got a good history in the club and they've had some great players, but they can't win trophies. And the result on the weekend was proof. This game coming up now, if they don't beat Everton after their woeful performance, then they're really in trouble. But Spurs look like good things here.
Yeah, the thing with Everton is that set pieces, they're quite dominant, and I'm not in love with that Spurs goalkeeper, but saying that, there should be over 2.5, over 3.5 goals. Spurs to win, both teams to score, yes. 5-2 does look the right thing, but I wouldn't be taking 4-10 Spurs. Big game of the week, Steve, Aston Villa, Arsenal. How do you see it?
Yeah, it is a big game, and Villa did well against them last year. It's interesting seeing the odds. They've got Arsenal as clear favourites, and you think they probably are, but I think Villa are going to give them a tough game. I think this could be a slightly tighter game than the odds might suggest. I think if there was to be a winner, I probably would go for Arsenal, but Villa are going to throw everything at them, and I think there'll be full house at Villa Park. I think it's going to be a good game.
Nice team, Villa. They've been well coached. Emery coached this team really well. Over the last 18 months, if you watch Villa, you see their progress and you can really see that the game has changed for them. I don't know how much of an impact their captain has gone to Juventus that could affect them, but they still seem like they were very well organised. Arsenal are going to have to play out of their socks to win this game. So I'm also leaning towards Villa, but I'm leaning towards the draw as well.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I think Aston Villa scored 2 goals. This thing, they scored plenty of goals. 12-10, I think it is. No, sorry, 19-10. Them to score 2 goals against Arsenal. I know Arsenal got a great record, but Aston Villa beat them twice last year, and that was what cost Arsenal the league. Remember, they went to the Emirates and beat them 2-0. This could be an upset, but Emery was at Arsenal. He got knifed in the back, so this is payback for him. This is a big game, but I don't see Arsenal winning it. I think the draw is the best they can get. Bournemouth, Newcastle, Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth, they obviously just sold Solanke, brought in a good young player, Evan Nielsen, a Brazilian international. So, I think they whether or not he'll be able to hit the ground running. But I think this is going to be a tough game for Newcastle. If you look at the squad, Newcastle, they haven't really had to, they're quite keen to bring in, but financial fair play, they've got to be careful. Bournemouth, I thought a really good game. I think the odds. I think there's some value in that in Bournemouth, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if there was to.
All right, had to be a winner. It'd be Bournemouth. Gav, what do you think? Okay.
Yeah, I think Newcastle, going down to 10 men, galvanised the team a bit and showed a bit of spirit what their club's really all about. I know they're going to travel to Bournemouth. Bournemouth, you wouldn't be thinking that they're going to finish higher than 10th in the league, and Newcastle would be. I'm leaning towards Newcastle. Tough game, but I think Newcastle will edge it. Yeah,
I think there'll be goals in this game. For me, it's a tight pitch, which will suit Bournemouth, but, I just like Isak. I don't know what price he is to score. He was like 12-10 last week, but down to 10 men. It cost me a few rand. I fancy Newcastle of the two teams. I know Bournemouth, that loss is Solanke, is a blow, and I thought Forest were a little bit unlucky last week. So if I have to side with one team, it's definitely going to be Newcastle. But I think they'll score a couple of goals at 8.5-10. So that was my suggestion. Wolves versus Chelsea, Steve. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, it's hard. This is a tricky one because on paper you'd think it should be Chelsea, but does Maresca know his best 11? He's I can see him chopping and changing quite a bit in the early weeks. Gary O'Neill doesn't have the luxury of 40 players to choose from, and having lost sort of like Neto, but I think Wolves will give them a good game. I still there's a bit of me thinks that with Cole Palmer in the side, Chelsea will be favourites, but I don't think it's going to be plain sailing for them.
Yeah,
I think Chelsea have to work for a result. I think they'll get a result, but they're going to have to work quite hard for it. The players that they have, like you say, you don't know which 11 are going to start because they've got such a big squad. Is he going to chop and change? And does he have an away team set up and then a home team set up? We just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But Chelsea, I would think, would edge this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be taking 7 or 10. I just think this is a tighter game. I'm going to go the bookings route. I haven't seen the odds, but I think there'll be plenty of bookings in this game. Both teams are desperate. Both teams are physical. So that would be my suggestion. I like the look of 30-10 the draw though, but I wouldn't be taking 7 or 10 Chelsea. Last but not least in the Premier, Steve, every Liverpool fan I've spoken to is cock a hoop. Should they beat Brentford?
I think they will. It's interesting. Obviously, they haven't, got their checkbook out much in the window. Yeah, I thought the second half they looked like they could score every time. Attack. I think this whether I expect Liverpool to win by at least a couple.
Gav?
Yeah, I agree. I think Liverpool win comfortably at home. The cop in the crowd, the supporters. It's their first home game. I think Liverpool will be too strong. I think they could win something like 2-1, 3-1 quite easily.
Yeah, this won't be easy because Brentford are organised, but I can see another 2-0 victory for Liverpool here. On to the Championship. And big game Friday night, Yorkshire Derby, Steve. Sheffield Wednesday had a good start. Can you see them upsetting Leeds?
Yeah, I mean, you said they had a really good start at home, but then they were as good as they were on the opening game. They were as poor in their second game, losing at Sunderland. Leeds haven't really got going. I mean, sort of 1 point from the 2 points from the games. I mean, I don't think that the manager's going to be quite happy with that. We're expecting them to be on the front foot straight away. Leeds are going to be favourites. They've obviously just sold another player, Ruta, who's gone to Brighton. But huge crowd expected, sellout, very passionate fans on both sides. I think if there was to be winner, I think Leeds, but I think it's going to be a very close game.
Yeah, I went over 2.5 goals. I watched the game last year and Sheffield Wednesday played great. Leeds were a far better team. I think they won 2-0. Sheffield Wednesday at home, hard to beat. But I'm going to take the easy way out and go for goals. Steve, Bristol City, Coventry. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Bristol City, that was a cracking game last weekend.
Yeah.
1 minute they were 2 up, then 3-2 down, and then got it beat Millwall with 2 late goals. Coventry got back to winning ways, but I just fancy Bristol City at home. Yeah,
of the two teams. I like the look of the draw, 5-2, but I went both teams to score. This could go either way for me. Hull City, Millwall. Millwall, I expect him to have a good start, Steve, but hasn't worked that way. Can they get back to winning ways?
I'm not sure they will at the weekend. They've got conceding seems to have been their problem. They've led in 7 in their 2 league games. Hull haven't quite set the division alight, but I think that for me they'll just start as favourites.
Yeah, 11-10 over 2.5 goals, but I sided with both teams to score a shade over 9-10. QPR, who I thought were gone when they were 2-0 down at Sheffield Wednesday, they came back to drew 2-2. Can they beat Wayne Rooney's team?
I think they probably will. I think that they showed a lot of fights against Sheffield United second half, and we saw how Plymouth didn't travel very well in the opening game. I think QPR probably just about should edge that. Yeah,
I think it'll be a tighter game than the betting suggests. On to my second page, and we've got a game I think there'll be plenty of goals. Blackburn, Oxford. Steve, do you agree?
Yes, I think so. I mean, Blackburn obviously disappointed. They've lost Sammy Smodjic, who's been their top scorer for the last couple of games, but they've scored a lot of goals and, looked as if they could win last weekend away. I think, though, that Blackburn should be too strong, but I think goals is definitely the way to go in this.
Yeah, totally agree. Goals all over. Both teams to score. Blackburn to win, both teams to score, and over 2.5 goals. For me, they're all good things. Middlesbrough 5-10, Steve, short, but they should beat Portsmouth.
I think so. Yeah, Portsmouth acquitted themselves well. They got a good draw against Leeds away, but I think Middlesbrough, it sounded like they threw everything at Derby, couldn't quite score that goal, but I think that at home they'll start as favourites.
Yeah, got to agree with that. I watched the Portsmouth game against Leeds. They scored 3 goals, but Leeds should have had about 6 or 7. So if Middlesbrough got the shooting boots on, they should win comfortably. Norwich versus Sheffield United. Steve, Sheffield United 15-10. That's a big price.
It is, but then Norwich at home are not the easiest side to beat, and 18-10 at home, which I think there's quite a bit of value there. But I think it's going to be a close game. Again, I think there'll be goals here. I think both teams will score goals, and I won't be at all surprised if you end up with a sort of maybe sharing 4 goals again, like Norwich did last week.
Yeah, okay. My boys Preston, we've signed a new manager. Well, we should sign a few players. Steve, I've watched both teams. I think Luton are absolute certainties here. What do you think?
Well, as I mentioned last week, Preston, I heard, created an unwanted record. They've gone 7 league games without a goal. And, Luton did well last week without their goalkeeper for 3/4 of the game and didn't concede. I can see this being a tough game again for Preston. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Luton just edge it.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I've got a few bets on with Luton. 12-10 I think is a crazy price, even though there should be a manager bounce. But 7 games without scoring. Maybe we need a penalty or 2. On to the final page, and we got Stoke West Brom. Steve, this should be a tight game.
I think it will be, but West Brom have had a decent start. They had a very good win at QPR. Stoke started well, but were well beaten last week. I fancy West Brom. I think there's a lot of value in those odds.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Sunderland Burnley. We've got this game on ESPN. Sadly, we haven't had many championship games on. This will determine how good Sunderland are, Steve. They've had a good start, but Burnley won't be easy to upset.
No, not at all. I think this is a really good game. I mean, Burnley have obviously started really well, but again, because of FFP, they've got to get some money in. Obviously, selling Sanderberger to Fulham and Odegaard out the blue to Tottenham. But Sunderland played very well. I watched the game against Sheffield Wednesday last weekend. Yeah. But I think if I was going to have to go for a winner, I would go for Burnley.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few goals in that too. But I agree, Burnley of the 2 teams. Steve, Watford on my best bet last week. Your brother's team never let me down. I think they'll blitz Derby County. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think those are decent odds, and I think that they're clear favourites. They've scored 11 league and cup goals in 3 matches this season, and I think they should be on for scoring another 2 or 3 more.
No doubt. Tom Cleverley, remember United, he got done against Bolton. He was a good midfield player, United. I watched him come through. Hopefully he'll last till Christmas, but I think Watford, absolute sitters. And last but not least, the Welsh Derby on Sunday. We've got it on ESPN, thankfully. I'm never happy to take even money in a local derby, Steve, but Swansea should be hard to beat.
I think Swansea should be favourites. It's obviously Cardiff were well beaten last weekend. Yeah. Although, again, when you get things like local derbies, then sometimes form goes out the window a little bit. But I think Swansea should be favourites for this. Yeah, totally agree. Steve, pressure time again. You're on the mark last week. Who are you going for? As much as I think I know who you're going for. Well, you might be surprised. Well, I'm going to go for Watford as my best bet. I think that I didn't have them last week, and I'm sure that they'll do the business this week. And for my value bet, I've changed my mind. I think I'm going to go for West Brom. Yeah. I just think that they've started well, and I've just got a feeling that those are decent odds. Yeah, well, I'll get Gavin's, and I'll put mine with Gavin's, but not far away, Steve. Steve, thanks as always, and enjoy Saturday's game. Cheers, Stephen. I hope so. Cheers, Gav. Bye. Yeah, no PSL, which only starts next month, but we have got a couple of qualifiers for the CAF. A couple of games. The first legs were played last week, so we'll get the betting up. And Orlando Pirates versus a team from Madagascar. The odds are short, Gav, but got to fancy the Buccaneers. You would think Pirates at home, big crowd for them. They will win this game comfortably. I think both teams will do really well. Stellenbosch as well, same thing. Yeah. Very difficult to beat in Cape Town. If it's a bit windy and rainy, well, the opposition have got no chance down there. The only thing is they played the first leg in Durban last week at Moses Mabhida, and Stellenbosch won 3-0.
So I just wonder whether Steve Barker may make a few changes, give a few guys. But of the two teams, I'd rather take the 1-5 Pirates and the 1-6 Stellenbosch. But with all due respect for CS Disciples from Madagascar and the other team from Swaziland, our boys should go through. Anyway, on to the exotics for the weekend. And the first one up is our Soccer 6. And I'm going West Ham win and draw at Crystal Palace. I've thrown the draw in with Fulham at home against Leicester. I think Man City will beat Ipswich. I've gone the field in the Southampton versus Nottingham Forest clash. Chancing Tottenham to beat Everton in the field in the Aston Villa versus Arsenal fixture. 216 Rand. Our second Soccer 6, I'm going AC Milan to avoid defeat at Parma. The field in the Udinese versus Lazio game. Two bankers, Lille to beat Angers and Inter Milan to beat Lecce. AC Monza win and draw at home against Genoa and St Etienne. The field against Le Havre, 216. On to our Soccer 10, I'm going West Ham United, win and draw at Crystal Palace, bankering Fulham to beat Leicester, siding with Nottingham Forest to avoid defeat at Southampton, going for Tottenham to beat Everton, Osasuna, win and draw at home against Real Mallorca. Onto the second page, I'm going for Monaco to avoid defeat at Lyon, and I'm chancing Aston Villa, win and draw at home against Arsenal, AC Milan to avoid defeat against Parma, as well as Lazio, win and draw in Udinese, and ending up with Barcelona to beat Athletic Bilbao, 288 Rand. Onto the Soccer 13 for Saturday, I'm going Aston Villa, win and draw against Arsenal, West Ham to avoid defeat at Crystal Palace, thrown the draw in with Fulham at home against Leicester City, two bankers, Man City to beat Ipswich and Tottenham to beat Everton. Going for Nottingham Forest, win and draw at Southampton, and Blackburn Rovers, win and draw at home against Oxford United. Onto our second page, I'm siding with Sheffield United, win and draw at Norwich, Middlesbrough to beat Portsmouth, going for Luton Town to beat my beloved Preston North End, West Brom win and draw at Stoke City, and ending up with two bankers, Burnley to win at Sunderland and Watford to win at home against Derby County, 256 Rand. On to our budgies bets for the weekend, and our Premiership bet, I'm going over 1.5 goals in each half of the Man City versus Ipswich game, over 2.5 goals, both teams to score yes in the Fulham Leicester and Aston Villa Arsenal game, 2,300 to 200. My team goals are Fulham, Newcastle and West Ham, all to score over 1.5 goals, and Man City to score over 2.5 goals, 2,500 to 200. Onto the Championship, I'm going Luton to beat Preston, Watford to beat Derby County, and over 2.5 total goals in the Sheffield Wednesday Leeds United and Blackburn Oxford United matches, 2,700 to 200. My both teams to score teams are Bristol City Coventry City, Blackburn Oxford United, Hull City Millwall, and Swansea City Cardiff City, 2,100 to 200. Spain is up, and I watched a few games the other day. I'm going Getafe to win at home against Rayo Vallecano, and I'm going over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no in the Real Madrid-Real Valladolid game. So that's Real Madrid to win 3-0, 4-0, and obviously not to concede. And over 2.5 goals in the Atletico Madrid-Girona game, which is 8-10, which I think is a gift. That treble works out at 2,300 to 200. And last but not least, our Collis King 6 or Nexa. I'm going Man City to beat Ipswich, Newcastle to beat Bournemouth, Watford to beat Derby, Real Madrid to beat Real Valladolid, Inter Milan to beat Lecce, and Juventus to beat Hellas Verona, 2,300 to 200. Gav, you've never been shy for a bet.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my good thing for the weekend. I think Fulham are good things this weekend at 8-10.
Yeah.
And my value bet, Nottingham Forest, I think it's a good value at around 15 to 18 to 10. I think it'll be a nice double.
Yeah, well, I'm with Steve. I think Watford, while they're on a roll, even money, I think it's a great price. And my upset of the weekend of value bet is West Ham. I was impressed with what I saw. I just think they'll be a little bit more fired up against Crystal Palace. So that's my suggestion. Thank you for watching, and please remember to stay on side.